I'm Dr. Stephanie Brown, and I am so excited to talk to you about one of my favorite topics, sisterhood, and specifically overcoming the challenges of sisterhood. This is the Success Women's Conference, and the success of women hinges on having strong, sustainable sisterhood. I am a life coach and a physician, and I work with women to help them transform their limiting beliefs into living their best lives. I consider myself to be a joy power coach because at Stephanie Brown Coaching, I help women discover the power they have inside to create positive change in their lives while experiencing more joy along the journey. The current times are the most challenging that I have ever experienced in my life. We're dealing with a health crisis, a racial crisis, a climate crisis, and the sort of political upheaval that I've never witnessed before. When there is so much uncertainty and chaos, and normal does not exist, one thing we can do is at least connect to the familiar. And our relationships with other women are a source of familiarity. Have you noticed how easy it is to strike up a conversation with a virtual stranger over something minuscule and then end up talking for hours over a wide range of subjects because you find out you have so much in common? And when you need a shoulder to cry on, your sister friend is always there with some tissues, a glass of wine, and a pint of ice cream. As women, most of us can easily relate to other women. We have similar experiences of being female in a male-dominated society. We understand what it's like to be a mom, an aunt, or daughter, and we can connect over similar struggles. So sisterhood is something familiar that can serve as a rudder during the tumultuous times we find ourselves trying to navigate. Also, this is the Success Women's Conference, and many of us are looking to launch successful businesses. So I will share the advice that I got from a very successful businesswoman who's considered a pioneer in her field. She broke through many glass ceilings, and the advice she gave for other women looking to break through glass ceilings was to have a strong support system of positive, encouraging people around you. Your sisters can be a part of your strong support system. I know that mine definitely are. But what happens when sisterhood itself is challenging? We all know women who have declared that they don't have female friends because women can be mean and petty. And let's be honest, we have all experienced that side of sisterhood ourselves, and we may even have the scars to show for it. We may have wondered if it's worth the risk. My personal mission and purpose is to create a safe space where women can heal and then come together with other women to make meaningful change in the world. So, this is really deep for me. I am dedicated to sisterhood in friendships, family, coaching circles, church groups, community organizations, accountability groups, and the list goes on. Wherever I go, I look for like-minded women to create relationships with. You may be asking yourself, well, what does she know about sisterhood? Well, I started my journey with sisterhood early when I started attending an all-girls school in the 7th grade. My experience with sisterhood there was far from perfect, but it was there that I fell in love with the ideal of sisterhood. And I have been in pursuit of it ever since. Joining a sorority in college, being part of numerous small groups, and starting a local chapter of a national organization geared around sisterhood and motherhood. And this was no easy task. It definitely stretched me and challenged me around the ideals of sisterhood because it was actually quite painful at times. But there is nothing that makes my sunshine brighter on a cloudy day than hearing one of my girls call me sis or refer to me as her sister. Needless to say, I wear sisterhood like a badge of honor on my chest. So when I hear other women say, I don't have female friends, they cause too much drama, or they're too petty, it always makes my heart sink. And I think they're missing out on so much fun. The girls' trips, the brunches, the overnight retreats. But I get it. And these are fun examples, but there are deeper reasons for sisterhood, like our health, our wealth, our mental well-being, and building a strong community that makes sisterhood very important. But I do understand that sometimes the bad seems to outweigh the good, and it doesn't feel worth it. I can think back to a time when I was in kindergarten or first grade, and I remember being so excited because a group of older girls who were very popular had dubbed me their little sister. They were the girls who had the fancy two-strand ponytails with yellow and red balls that dangled at the ends and swung when they walked. And when they walked into a room, they were greeted with approving nods of respect. So being their little sister was huge. It meant that I could walk with my head held high and no one was going to mess with me. I was protected. And then one day, I was in the girls' restroom in one of the stalls and I heard my big sisters talking. And just when I was about to walk out, I heard it. One said, "She's boring and she's really not that cute." And the other one said, "Yeah, let's make Rhonda our little sister instead." I stayed in the stall until they were gone, and in that moment, felt totally devastated and rejected. And true to their word, they never spoke to me again. And you would think that's just a coming of age tale of girls being girls, that I got over it and went on to have many fulfilling friendships. And I thought the same thing. But instead, that hurt got buried and resurfaced 40 years later while I was working with my life coach, and it demanded to be healed. So I know that hurt from our sisters can run really deep sometimes. But right now, in the midst of all the upheaval that is going on, we need our sisters more than ever. Like the psalmist said about the Lord, we can say the same about our sisters. If you ever needed your sisters before, you sure do need them now. So the question I want to tackle today is, what does strong, secure, sustainable sisterhood look like? And how do we create it? When I reflect over a lifetime of friendships, remember, I've been in active pursuit of sisterhood since as far back as I can remember. I discovered some key truths. There are 3 elements that are always present in my thriving friendships. And in those friendships that have not worked out, at least one of these elements was missing. And even more importantly, in the relationships that I have reconciled after I messed up or they messed up, addressing at least one of these elements was crucial for reconciliation. I call them the 3 S's of sisterhood. The first S is safe space. I need to know when I am with my sister, I can take off the mask that I may wear for the rest of the world and be my true, authentic self. I need to know that she has my best interest at heart and I can trust her to keep my confidence. She won't gossip. She sees my humanity. Even if I look different, I think differently, or love differently than she does. The second S is self-reflection. You have to be able to see yourself clearly. We tend to attract people in our relationships who are mirrors for us. They're there to help us see something that we need to see about ourselves. This happens in friendships and in romantic relationships. Have you ever noticed that people will pick the exact same type of partner time after time, even though it seems that that person is no good for them? There are unresolved issues that they are unconsciously trying to work out, and that relationship is a mirror. So when a sister is able to self-reflect and see how she may have been at fault in a situation, then not only can she resolve her own karmic burden, but she's able to say, "My bad, I'm sorry." And that's healthy for all relationships. The relationship can grow and mature, and it makes room for greater intimacy. The third S is showing up. Being present emotionally and physically showing up for the important things in your sister's life is huge. This is especially important now when many of us feel physically isolated. It's a great boost to our mood, to our immune systems, and our mental well-being to have our sisters show up for us in a phone call, a Zoom call, a letter, on social media, or even safely in person. it means a whole lot. This one's really hard because we're all so busy and we have competing demands on our time and energy. What I found with this one is that in authentic relationships, you get an A for effort. You don't have to show up 100% of the time. You can get graded on a curve. So I have to remind myself not to place the bar so high that I end up feeling ashamed if I can't reach it. And then I end up isolating myself from the very connections I truly crave. Just like any other relationship, the only person we can truly change is ourselves. So let's start with making ourselves the type of sister that we would love to have in our lives. And then that's what we will attract from other women. If we go back to safe space, in order to provide a safe space for someone else, we need to first provide a safe space for ourselves. We need to be able to take off our own mask and get to know who we really are. Being safe with ourselves means showing ourselves grace and compassion. Is your mind constantly telling you what you are doing wrong and what you need to do, instead of telling you how much you've already done and how proud of yourself you are? For some people, it's easier to speak kindly to a friend or even their child than it is to speak kindly to themselves. So as corny as it may sound, it starts with self-love. We have to love ourselves first to be able to truly love someone else. Often, the vitriol you get from one of your sisters is a projection of how she feels about herself. Some people may think, I don't need to work on this. I love myself and I treat myself very well and I don't let anybody walk all over me. Okay, that sounds like you're doing a great job of protecting yourself. Loving yourself requires a willingness to go to the deep, dark places of your soul, where you have buried your deepest shame and your deepest pain. The ability to look at those parts of yourself honestly, forgive yourself, and love those dark parts is necessary. We all have them. And then you begin to integrate those dark areas that were neatly tucked away back there in the closet somewhere, back into the beautiful persona that you let the rest of the world see. Some people call this shadow work, and you can do this by journaling, or there are lots of courses out there that you can take, or you can work with a coach or therapist. There are also some great books you can read, and I would highly recommend Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. If we go to the second S, which is self-reflection, have you ever met those people that believe that everything is someone else's fault? Chances are that person is a horrible sister friend. At some point, we all have to be able to look in the mirror and take some personal responsibility. And maybe that thing that our sister said to us is true, even though it hurt our feelings. How do we know? We have to get good at spending time in self-reflection. With all of the busyness of the world, it can be hard to hear that still small voice. COVID has actually been a time for the earth to rest and heal, and for so many people to take a time out and slow down. And self-reflection requires us to slow down so that we can connect with our own intuition. Meditation is a great way to slow down and connect and self-reflect. I try to spend some time in meditation every day. And meditation, I recently learned, can take on many forms. It can be done using a mantra and sitting with your eyes closed, like we traditionally think about it. But it can also be done with dancing and chanting. So there are many ways to meditate, and you can find the one that works best for you. Journaling is also another powerful way to self-reflect, as is prayer. And if none of that works, reaching out to someone is always an option. So on to the third S, showing up. This is the one that should be the most fun, but it can be a challenge due to the things I mentioned earlier, competing demands and distance. But the more challenging thing about showing up is how we show up energetically. Often our energy is so depleted that we don't even show up for ourselves the way we want, let alone anyone else. And when we do show up, are we showing up as our best selves, or are we showing up as our stressed out, irritable, and underachieving self who is just trying to survive? The thing about showing up is that it requires us to be present. When we are fully present in the moment, we can show up with more energy because we're not wasting energy worrying about the future or lamenting about the past. We bring our full selves to the present moment. We give ourselves or our sister our undivided attention. We breathe in the air, smell the aromas, and feel all the feelings. One example of this is celebrating your sister's achievement. One of my sister friends just launched a book, and I knew that I wanted to show up for her. I had to change my work schedule to be present for the book launch, which occurred via Zoom. But I also had to put myself in her shoes and empathize with how she was feeling and think about what she needed during the day. So I called when I thought it was a good time and she needed encouragement, and I didn't call when I knew she would be stressed trying to put her event on. As much as I wanted to ask her about coming on my podcast, I didn't ask her that day because that was her day. I made myself available to show up with joy and enthusiasm and love and all of the positive vibes and to be present for her that day for her moment. I was intentional. So showing up starts with setting the intention to be fully present and engaged and making the sacrifices to make that happen. It may require making schedule changes, suppressing your own needs temporarily, meditating so that your energy is supportive and encouraging, and being empathetic enough to know what your friend needs and does not need in that moment. So once you have done the work to make yourself the type of sister you wish to attract, start attracting. Forgive the sisters that hurt you in the past. I know forgiveness can be hard, but unforgiveness is one of the main things that hold us back from having the peace and joy that we want in life. If you're unable to forgive, reach out to someone for help with that. Coaches are great at helping you with that. The benefits of sisterhood far outweigh the cost, as long as you're connecting with other sisters who demonstrate the 3 S's of sisterhood. You now have a clear idea of what makes a good sister. Use it like a checklist and expand your circle. Join a book club, join a church group, join a sister circle. I recently started a Facebook group called the SOAR Circle for sisters to support each other and network together. I had the pleasure of interviewing a pioneer in business, as I mentioned earlier, who broke through many glass ceilings. And she only had 4 pieces of advice that were integral for women who want to be successful in business. And one of them was to have a strong support system. These sisters will be your next business partners, your next customers, your next sponsors, and your next mentors. Having a strong support system is imperative during any time, but absolutely non-negotiable during the times we're currently living through. Remember the African proverb, alone we go faster, but together we go farther. And with that in mind, when I created SOAR, which stands for Sisters Overcoming and Rising, I created a platform for women to help other women overcome whatever is holding them back so that we can all rise and soar a little higher. I host a weekly radio show and a podcast. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. It's called Sisters Overcoming and Rising. The podcast focuses around elevating women's voices and women's stories as a way to inspire other women who may have similar struggles and to celebrate the accomplishments of African American women whose voices have traditionally been oppressed. And when I launched the SOAR Circle Facebook group, I had the same mission to inspire, motivate, educate, and to expand the circle of sisterhood. You can reach me on my website at www.stephaniebrowncoaching.com. And I would also like to offer you a free gift. This free gift is some time for self-reflection, and that will be a free coaching session with me, after which you are sure to feel more empowered and more joyful. Please text SOAR, capital S, capital O, capital A, capital R, to 66866. Again, for a free gift from me, text SOAR to 66866. Let's soar together.